Let's move on to the second part of our show, and it's about the Black Stars. And joining me to do this is Jerome Otre on Zoom. The Black Stars are out, but the budget for the Black Stars is all over there. I mean, it's an alleged figure that is, we are yet to hear from the Ministry of Youth and Sport. The minister needs to give us a breakdown of what the 8.6 was used for the AFCON in Cote d'Ivoire. Remember that the prize money for this year's edition is $7 million, and that's an increment by the Confederation of African Football. According to them, it's just to increase the prestige of the tournament. Guys, let me start off with you, Delali. I mean, so prior to the tournament, we had the ministry's youth, the ministry's PRO come out to say that the budgets will be out after the AFCON, and it didn't make sense to a lot of people. Samuel Kujuto Blakwa, Honorable, put out some figures that people are not too excited about those figures, most especially because of the performance of the team in the last 4 editions of the African Cup of Nations. We keep pumping in money, but there's nothing really to show. I don't know what you think about the conversation so far.
Yes, I think if you see your national team spend that amount of money and get knocked out of the group stages, like basically not spend, but if you see the budget, that's the budget. Whether they spent it or not, we don't know. But to see that you budgeted such an amount of money for a tournament that you got knocked out of the group stages, like we are angry already. So definitely any amount we see, we are not pretty much going to be happy with it. So I think just as every Ghanaian, we are also going to react to the same way, because in plenary, we all look at it and say, nah, come on, like, what are we going to do at the AFCON? Because it's just Ivory Coast that we're going to spend this kind of money. I think maybe the ministry basically really needs to come out and come and explain to us their plans. But if you honestly watch our budgets for the African Cup of Nations, I think there are so many things that makes it go high too much. We, as a country, we need to. There are so many things that we do during tournaments that we need to look at it and bring it down. Because first of all, I think
that we can slash some of the things we are doing.
Because I don't think the 8 million is only for the footballing reasons. When I mean footballing reasons, you mean like on the players. Yeah. Yeah. I don't think that 8 million covers only the players. I don't think it will get to that point. And those are the things we need to start doing. We need to start cutting them. And you'll be surprised that most of them on the budget or the expenses that we're going to do are things that we've been doing ever since we've been qualifying for the African Cup of Nations. Example, funding fans to go and watch games, giving them per diem. These are practices that will always push your budget so high. But it's a practice that we've been doing. You come to government and you don't want to do it, and everybody will come after you. So we need to come together as a country and look at how we can slash a lot of things on our expenditure. And also, I think you could clearly tell that the fact that we also wanted to camp in South Africa also perhaps influence on how high that budget is going to be. And for me, the fact that we didn't go to South Africa and we stayed in Ghana, the ministry also has to come and let us know how much we saved out of that amount, and the fact that we didn't also make it out of the group stages, how we plan of spending the money. And that's how we can slash some of these things. Yeah. How we plan
and that's really an interesting point you phrase, especially with the campaign one, and then failing to progress out of the group. So it means that if these two things happen, especially with the campaign and progressing, we could have seen something more higher.
Maybe I don't think the 8 million is. It covers. The 8 million is not what. The 8 million is not their expenditure. It's more of
budget. So
budget.
We're thinking now. Okay, what if we make it
all the way to the finals and win the tournament?
So that is what. Okay.
Yes, but now that we didn't, we have to know that we did. Okay, we didn't spend this. We didn't spend this. So out of the 8 million, we spent let's say 1 million, or we spent 2 million.
Okay. We've got Jerome Montry joining us on the line to talk more about this. But let's look at Ghana's spending from the AFCON. I mean, right up to now, we've got these figures we put out, we put together for you to check. Yes, so there you have it. It's from 2013, 2015, 2017, 2019, 2021, the last AFCON in Cameroon, and then the current one that is happening all the way in 2013. Let me speak to Jerome. Hi, Jerome. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, and good afternoon to you and your guest.
Good afternoon to you too, Jerome. How are you doing, first of all?
Yeah, by God's grace, I'm fine. I believe you're also well.
We are good here. Well, Jerome, I mean, the Black Stars is out of the competition. Not the one everybody. I don't know your thoughts on the teams, how they fare. I mean, the Black Stars, how they fare. We'll get into the figures in a bit, but I mean, your general thoughts on what you witnessed in Cote d'Ivoire.
Well, it was nothing surprising, nothing so shocking, because what you put in is what you get. What we got from Cote d'Ivoire is as a result of what we put into Cote d'Ivoire. And if you believe in the theory of giggle, garbage in, garbage out, then you shouldn't be too surprised, because Ghana didn't plan to excel at the AFCON. We didn't prepare to excel at the AFCON. I'm not even sure exactly what our targets were as we were going to Ivory Coast. Yes, there is always the general assumption that nobody goes into battle thinking that he's going to be defeated. But we always know those who go to competitions of this nature well prepared. And that's why we're able to tell that these are the likely teams to win the competition, even though this particular competition, it looks like all the bookmakers are getting it wrong. But whatever Ghana did in Ivory Coast, I was not surprised at all. And maybe we'll go into why I'm not surprised, but I don't think I expected anything different from what we did. I have to say, however, that I had the hope that we would change the script. But when the competition started, especially after our second game, I was more than convinced that it wasn't going to go well.
Okay, Jerome, now, so the way forward for the team, I mean, the GFA yesterday put out a statement apologizing and giving us what they plan to do in relation to the team. Before that statement, we had a five-member committee put together by the Ghana Football Association. Now, people have raised concerns about the kind of people who are heading this committee to find Hilton's successor, and they think that the process has been rushed. We are not solving the other issues confronting the team, and as a repetition of something that has happened. I mean, with what we did with Milovan, the performance wasn't good. Put up a committee, there's a coach being announced, and then we neglect the other factors. I mean, your thoughts on all of this?
Well, I don't believe the problems of the Black Stars is to do with coaching. The reason Black Stars have been poor in the last two AFCONs is not because they've not had a good coach. It is because we have mismanaged the team, and we continue to mismanage the team and the expectation of the public. So if we appoint a new coach, by whatever means, whether it's going to be recommendation of a committee or whether they're going to headhunt, I don't think it will change anything. What must change is the various practices that we seem to have become comfortable with when it comes to managing our national teams. And until those practices, some of which I think are very bad, change, we are going to see a continuous decline of our senior national team. Let us not forget, before the current FA came to power, the Black Stars had consistently, maybe with the exception of 2017, had consistently made it gone or made it past the one stage, which is the quarterfinal stage.
Yeah.
We have had a consistent appearance in the semi-finals, about 4 or 5. We have been in the finals on 2 occasions in the last 13 or 14 years. And if in the last 4 years, or let's say 2 years, we have gone to the point where we cannot even win a game at the AFCON, I don't think it is something to do with coaching. It's got something to do with what the management of the team is doing in terms of not being able to keep a coach over, let's say, 2 or more years. in terms of player selection, some of which have been very questionable, in terms of even the budget of the team, which it's always riddled with controversy, and the public gets to know of it. It kills their confidence or trust in the team and everything that the managers of the team is doing. And that creates a sort of disconnect such that Black Stars are playing and you have people who wish that they lose because once they win, those leading the team are going to earn monies that they've not worked for. So these are some of the factors that I believe have contributed to affecting the fortunes of the team. And not until we tackle these issues head on, even bringing the best of coaches like Pep Guardiola to the Black Stars, we'll still have the Black Stars being poor because we are not tackling the fundamental issues of management around the team.
I mean, it's interesting that you raised that point that even if we bring in Pep, we'll still struggle because that's the exact same words of former sports minister Neil Ante van der Poel. But John, let's go through the figures the Black Stars has spent like for tournaments. You look at the AFCON, interesting figures have popped out after the Black Stars exited again. 8.5 million budgeted for this year's edition. The prize money for this year is 7 million. But you look at it all the way from 2013, 2015, 2017, 2019, 2021. Let's start with the 2013. The prize money at the time was 1.5 million. Our budget for the tournament was 5.8. So it means that we've always had, apart from 2021, where the budget and the prize money was in line, we've always had, and 2017, that was a bit lower than the prize money. Our budgets is always higher than the prize money itself of the tournament.
Yeah, I think we have to educate our viewers that the nature of the AFCON, I mean, participating in a competition like the AFCON is such that you are always going to have your, I don't even want to talk about budget, but then you are always going to have expenses or expenditure going beyond the
prize money itself.
Because if you take, for instance, if you take, for instance, the AFCON 2013 in South Africa, the prize money as shown on your screen was $1.5 million.
Yeah.
At that time, I don't know how much air tickets were, but assuming we're taking 22 players plus a technical team and maybe one or two management officials, we're going to pay something closer to, hundreds of thousands of dollars. So by the time you leave the competition, you will have spent, if not close to that amount, maybe more than that amount. I think that it is not even fair for us to do a comparative analysis of how much we budget for a competition and how much we are likely to get if we are champions of that competition. Because we are, except perhaps for the World Cup, we are always going to have that imbalance if we are talking about the AFCON. So that's one point I want to make. The second issue for me is it conscionable that we spend that much? You forget about the budget. I mean, budget is not anything. It's just a projection of what we are likely to spend.
Yeah.
But we have seen some of the expenditure. I mean, I have seen some of the expenditure. And I look at how much we spend on the competition and what we do at the competition. And it tells me that we are not doing the right things. And that is why Ghanaians will talk. Ghanaians are not talking because they think that money is being spent on the team. No. Once the team moves, once the team plays, we are always going to spend money on them.
Okay.
But how conscionable is the expenditure on the team? The quantum of money we are spending on the team, how justifiable is it? And I think that is where the conversation should be taken to. And from what I have seen, these are not things we can justify because we are doing these things for the Black Stars at the detriment of other national teams who are not being paid. We are doing these things at the detriment of national team coaches, some of who are still being owed. So how do you spend so much on one senior national team when other team coaches, also owned by the state, are not paid? as we speak, the Black Queens are owed.
Yeah.
I mean, their bonuses for qualifying for the Women's African Cup of Nations have not been paid. They have a game in about 2 weeks against Zambia, which is a crucial Olympic Games qualifier.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if they've gone 3 or so matches without their bonuses being paid, and these Black Queens players wake up in the morning and see that for the Black Stars alone,
You pumped in so much.
I mean, a little over $8 million were budgeted for their competition. How do you think those players will feel?
Yeah.
And you would hear the excuse that, oh, there's no money paid. There's no money to the Queens. If there's no money to the Queens, how are we able to raise millions of dollars for the Black Stars? So there are management issues that coach cannot solve. It is always going to come down to the government of the land, the minister in charge of sports, and the FA. Take, for instance, the Black Princesses. I don't think their bonuses have been determined.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they have been paid, even though they have qualified for the world. They're going to participate this year in Colombia also.
Yeah,
so
Colombia.
The picture painting is that if we have enough to spend on the Black Stars, and we are not spending on the other national teams, and they virtually have to beg for their bonuses, then something is wrong with the way we are managing the game. And that is a point of concern for me.
Huge one. So, I mean, it brings me to the point that you look at the team's performance and the money we've pumped in, it's not in line. And you think, so what do you think are some of the things we can do to slash some of the things off in terms of having higher budgets for tournaments for the Black Stars?
We have to look at the entire of national team football in the country. What is it that we want to do with national team football? When I was growing up, the Black Stars was a rallying point. I mean, we used the Black Stars as a tool to unite the nation, so that some 14 years ago at the World Cup, not just Ghana, but the rest of Africa rooted behind Ghana. I mean, to see Ghana excelling at the World Cup in South Africa. So it was a rallying force for all of us. So if we say we are using the national team to foster national unity, and today people are divided over even supporting that national team, then something is fundamentally wrong. So the first thing we need to do is to establish what we want to do with the national team.
Okay.
If it's about national unity, then there shouldn't be divisions. There shouldn't be bitterness or bickering over money. People are complaining because they believe that taxpayers' money are not being put to proper use. So let us establish what we want to do with the national or the other national teams, and be clear in mind that this is the path we want to go.
Okay.
So, for instance, if today we don't have a coach, and there you on record told the Parliamentary Probe Committee of 2021, I mean, during that AFCON probe, they said in clear terms that coaching has been the issue. Coaching is an issue. He thinks that inconsistencies in coaching is a problem for the Black Stars. We must be clear that even if we're setting up a committee to appoint a new coach, then we should be clear how long that coach will stay in office. Even if results are going the way we want, we should have a reasonable expectation and tell ourselves that maybe in a year or two, we will not get the right results. But we allow him to go, let's say, a second, third, fourth year, we will see the kind of results we want to see. I was telling someone this afternoon that if you take the South African coach, when he started, it was very...
We seem to have lost Jerome Oshri there, but a really, really interesting point he's raised in regards to Ghana's budgets for the African Cup of Nations. And I mean, let me just come to you. I mean, he's raised a lot of, he was just about giving us some things we need to do to slash off and have a reasonable budgets we can take to the AFCON. And he made mention that, look, you look at the performance, we keep on pumping money into the Black Stars, but yet, performance-wise, we are not delivering.
He made some very...
hold on. I think we have Jerome back. Hi, Jerome, can you hear me? Hi, Jerome.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay,
yes, I can
so
hear you.
You were making a point before the line dropped.
Yeah, so I was saying that if you take South Africa, for example, in 2021, they were not at the AFCON.
Yeah.
In fact, their coach, who they appointed in 2021, if you calculate from that period to this point, is in his third year. I don't remember the last time Stars coach spent 3 years or got into his third year in Ghana.
Yeah.
And these are fundamental issues of management. If you cannot have consistency in the way you are doing your things, consistent results will be very difficult. The results are going to be inconsistent. And that's why at the last AFCON, we couldn't win the game. And this AFCON, we drew 2 games and lost 1. I mean, that is also inconsistent, even if you are comparing it to our last performance.
Yeah.
So all I'm saying is we should be clear on what we want to do with our national team. If it is management, if it is coaching, if it is investment, what are we doing specifically that is bringing all of us together behind the national team so they get the kind of results that we want to see when they go to international competitions?
Interesting points. And finally, before I let you go, you mentioned that the Black Queens who have qualified for the AFCON, the Black Princesses themselves are being owed some bonuses. I mean, if we want to look at the Black Stars, the money that they pumped in, we still need to settle these players and get them in tune for the tournament they have to play, Jerome.
Exactly. And there's a clear imbalance. I would love to see the budget they will make for the Women's African Cup of Nations concerning the Black Queens, and we compare it to the Black Stars. Yes, I mean, I know very well that the 2 competitions are not the same, even in terms of prominence or prestige.
Yeah.
But if we can make money readily available for the Black Stars, and we cannot pay the bonuses of the Black Queens, then there's a clear unfairness or a clear case of imbalance in the way we are doing things. And it doesn't appeal to me that we seem to be very serious about national team football in the country. Recently, I think somewhere last year or so, the U.S. female national team have been fighting for equal pay. Yes, someone might say that, oh, that's far-fetched. I mean, Ghana is not yet there. I agree. We may not be there. But if at this moment we are talking about millions of investment in the Black Stars, and we are not seeing the kind of results we want to see, and other teams are not being given the same, or let's say a fraction of attention of what the Black Stars is having, then it clearly tells you that we are not going to see the kind of results we want to see. And I would want leadership of the Football Association, and especially the sports ministry, to take a critical look at the way they've done things in the past, because clearly we are not getting the results.
Yeah.
So something has to change with the way they are doing things. Coaches have come and gone. If a new coach is appointed in, let's say, 3 weeks for the Black Stars, he will be the 5th coach in 5 years. So, I mean, if we keep changing coaches and we are not getting the kind of results we want to get, what it then means is that there's something managerial which we are not doing right, and we will need to fix that part as well.
All right. Thank you so much, Jerome. Interesting points and you've raised there. Thank you so much for joining us today. Okay. Yeah. You were making a point. Just quick one, and then we wrap up for today.
Yeah. I think with the Black Stars, the problems are multifaceted. It can't just be the coaching. It can't just be management. It can't just be government. It can't just be sports ministry. Because at every point in time, when you look at these factors, there's an argument to be made for them. There's an argument to be made for against them. And so I think once you bring all those factors together, then you have the positives and the negatives. So that's where you need to take away the negatives and focus on the positives. So for instance, coaching. You need to bring in the right coach. For instance, Chris Hughton. He made a mistake by starting Konex-Doffer as a creative midfielder in our game against Cape Verde. Konex-Doffer is not a creative midfielder. Okay. He's played throughout this season for Hamburg as a right winger. You don't play him as a creative midfielder. That's a coaching issue.
Okay.
So, for instance, government, you don't fly people to a tournament and give them money, whereas you don't deliver money or you don't give money to be provided for the coaches for the juvenile teams. You don't do that. So those are the negative things that need to avoid, and those are the positive things that need to be encouraged in terms of their investment to the Black Stars. They are pumping a lot of money, but they are doing things that aren't necessary for them to pump money into. So those are the things that they need to avoid. but the right things that we need to encourage. I think once we do those things, we'll be fine.